بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue reading from the 40 principles of the religion, Al-Arba في Usul by Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah. And we have reached the 8th principle, divine actions, Al-Af'al. Imam Al-Ghazali says, there is nothing existent besides him except that it occurred by his action and emanated from his justice in the best, perfect, complete, and fairest way. Okay. وأنه تعالى لا موجود سواه إلا هو حادث بفعله، وفائض من عدله، على أحسن الوجوه وأكملها وأتمها وأعدلها. He is wise with his actions and just in his decisions. His justice is not compared to the justice of his slaves, our concept of justice. For wrongdoing is conceivable. His justice is not compared to the justice of his slaves. For wrongdoing is conceivable for the slave by him meddling with another's property. But is inconceivable for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because none other than him has any property to be wrongly dealt with in the first place. There are two concepts of ownership, if you will, of property. One is absolute, and this belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other one is relative, and this belongs to the human being. And the second one is only possible, it's only possible as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it could be also a test, but this is what it is. It's relative because it is it will always be time bound. Let's look at basically some verses from the Quran that address this issue. قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء. This verse from Al-Imran stipulates in clear terms that we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Malik al-Mulk, he is the real owner of everything. Al-Mulk, because when the question is asked on the day of judgment, liman al-mulku al-yawm, everything, the answer is lillahi al-wahid al-qahhar. We don't own in reality anything. Any ownership that is temporal, we say it's temporary. Temporal, let's bring it to this original meaning. Anything that is tied to time, temporal, is not real property. And if we really think about this notion, if we attach it to everything that we know in the realm of the creation, your ownership of any property, any house is temporary. Your marriage is no matter what, no matter even if only death really separates the couple, it is still temporary. If you remarry, it is still temporary. Your your being a father or a mother, it is temporary. Your being a child, a son, it's temporary. Anything that you own is really temporary, and it is really rooted in the notion that it is temporal. And anything that is temporal, ultimately, it's has an end. It has a beginning and it has an end. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows this property on us, and we should not forget really who is really the absolute owner of all this universe. And because we do mess up, we do interfere, we do steal, we do cheat, we do harm the property of the others. Technically speaking, it includes also their bodies. So we might harm them. We might harm people in their property outside their bodies, uh, and the notion of harm, injustice. When we interfere in that which belongs to other people, Imam Al-Ghazali has addressed in Al-Mustasfa, I think, the notion of torture. But the idea is that that which belongs to other people we should not touch, even if it's temporary. And once we basically uh, take the property of others or harm the property of others, that's injustice. It's inconceivable that such a thing, such injustice, will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because no one else has property, no one else has real ownership. لا يصادف, I think the original text in the Ihya, it's لا يصادف ملكا لغيره. I think these are the exact words from the Ihya. And here in it's the same thing in the text that he quotes in the أربعين: فإنه لا يتصور ظلم الله سبحانه فإنه لا يصادف الغير ملكا حتى يكون تصرف فيه ظلمة. These are the original words from the Ihya. Wallahu alam. Okay. Everything besides him, whether jinn or human, demon or angel. Okay. And by demon, it's really the shaitan. Heaven or earth, animal or plant. Substance or thought. Substance or thought. Substance, okay. Or really accident, probably. It's more appropriate. Abstract or concrete. Abstract or concrete. Abstract, really, it's mudrak. And I would say that mudrak is perceived compared to concrete, to the mahsus, that is that we can realize its existence through the senses. This is really what mahsus is. But abstract, okay, it is abstract, but the idea is we talk about thought, really. Again, substance or accident, rather than abstract or concrete. We talk about perception, which is still abstract anyhow. But I'm trying to get the exact word, really, from the mudrak. حادث is an occurrence which he invented with his power and fabricated from non-existence, bringing it into existence after it had been nothing. Hadith. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Qadim. By definition, every other, He is the necessarily existent, and for the rest of us, human beings or angels or Satan or the inanimate objects or the plants or whatever in existence, this universe, this vast universe is created, is accidental. So it's an occurrence which he invented with his power and fabricated from non-existence, bringing it into existence after it had been nothing. He has existed alone throughout eternity, and nothing was with him. He brought about the creation as a manifestation of his power and a realization of his will. To actualize what he had spoken since eternity, not because of any need for it. أنتم الفقراء. While faqr could be translated simply as poverty, but one's mind might simply think of material poverty, which is also true. أنتم فقراء إلى الله. We are always in need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for our existence. We cannot really exist even for the smallest part of a second on our own. We wouldn't. وأنه المتفضل بالخلق والاختراع والتكليف لا عن وجوب. And I think this is a very essential word that differentiates between, in general, the Ahl Sunnah from the Mu'tazila. His creating, inventing, and making us responsible was out of His grace, not out of obligation. He has been immensely generous by blessing us and making the world suitable for our existence, which He was not obliged to do. Suitable for our existence, suitable for our existence. Suitable for our existence because it is suitable really to fulfill the role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. This vicegerency, which is really the best thought and practice, which is only possible through through the revelation, which at this stage in human history, only Islam remains intact as a whole way of life that is rooted in revelation. And the very fact that the Quran is muhaymin, it is usually translated as a guard, that it guards, the Message of Islam guards that which came before. It preserves that which came before, which is probably non-existent in some cases. And in the word of one rabbi, the Quran is corrective. It corrects that which they have, but it's really it corrects the errors that took place, the vagaries of transmission, and there are different types of irregularities that took place um, to the previous revelations. So, for example, when we talk about this universe being appropriate for us, متطور بالإنعام والإصلاح لا عن لزوم. Yes. In terms of the in'am, everything in the universe that is beneficial to us is part of this in'am. And I think the notion of that the notion of taskhir that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala availed to us, and there are many verses in the Quran about taskhir. وسخر لكم الشمس والقمر وسخر لكم البحر وسخر لكم ما في الأرض جميعا وسخر لكم الأنعام وسخر لكم الليل والنهار وسخر لكم ما في السماوات والأرض. Even when one thinks السماوات also, not only the earth. Yes, subhanallah. It could be for direction, it could be for the energy. They say if we could capture the energy that reaches us from the sun, less than 1 day of energy coming from the sun is enough for a whole year for the whole globe. Imagine what could that mean for the carbon footprint, for the preservation of our environment, ecosystem, this greenhouse effect, which is real, where we are seeing really terrible things happening now on a global level. So there are these all these messages, but we need to understand what's there. But the way it was in the past, people depended on the map of the sky to navigate their ships and to find their way at night. It's the same today. If your GPS does not work, when you have these storms on the surface of the sun, and they could cause massive, waves that could reach the earth and interrupt communication. One pilot was asked, what happens if you cannot navigate your airplane, like your GPS practically does not work? He said, we go back to the basics, reading the map of the sky. So that's also one aspect. And it's a pity that it is available, but it's a pity that with the landing of the Indian satellite on the moon, the rover really on the moon. The talk is about mining the moon. We are still looking for more stuff as humanity. We are preoccupied with hoarding things, and we are not looking at the meaning of things really. And it's a pity. Where is basically humanity from pondering upon the universe, mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all states. الذي يذكر الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض. ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. That this is not in vain. This universe is not in vain. Subhanallah. So his creating, inventing, and making us responsible was out of his grace. And it's a responsibility that we shy away from. And we'll get to the next paragraph. It is related to this notion of responsibility. He has been immensely generous by blessing us and making the world suitable for our existence, which he was not obliged to do. He possesses grace and goodwill, blessings and gifts. For on the other hand, he is capable of afflicting his slaves with every sort of torture and testing them with agony and suffering. Indeed, if he were to do so, it would be just, not immoral or wrong. In fact, there's another aspect for the إذ كان قادرا على أن يصب على عباده أنواع العذاب ويبتليهم بضرور الآلام والأوصاب. Well, we do have, many people will ask the question, where is God when they refer to certain things that are taking place, when there is a genocide, when there is, severe pain or sickness or any affliction, any tribulation. Well, this life is definitely part of it is going through difficulties and through pain, and you strive very hard, and that's the way to prepare the youngsters really for to till. You cannot basically harvest without tending to the land. You till the land, you plant, you irrigate, you weed, this, and nothing of this is nothing of this could take place without putting effort and much effort. But the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, even when one is pricked by a thorn, he or she is rewarded. You don't prick yourself, but if it happens, then you prick yourself probably for blood work, but that's not what we mean. So if you prick yourself, you are rewarded for that. One of the ladies said that even if you the pen to fix your hijab, if you will, the head cover, if it does prick you, you still have ajr for that. And the meaning is that for everything, it's the intention that makes a difference. He rewards his slaves for their obedience as his generosity and promise dictate, not due to entitlement or necessity. Again, this distinguishes the Ahl Sunnah from the Mu'tazilite on this issue. وأنه يثيب عباده على الطاعة بحكم الكرم والوعد لا بحكم الاستحقاق واللزوم. Nothing is required of him, and it is inconceivable that he would be unjust. Not due to entitlement. And here we speak about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. There is no istihqaq. There is no entitlement. Okay. But other than this, even amongst ourselves, I think one of the biggest problems is entitlement. It's the notion of entitlement. I think this is really people who have a sense of entitlement might really have a difficult way forward. You need to roll up your sleeves and put in the effort and the hours, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you, and many good things will happen. But there should be no entitlement here. No one has any right over him, over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of creation, on the other hand, is required to recognize his right to obedience, as he ordained it by the tongues of his messengers. Because every prophet was sent bilisani qawmih. The message was very clear, and I think the Quran is distinguished really. If you read in Genesis about many of the prophets, their property, their shepherds, their cattle, their and how the shepherds would fight with each other. of prophets who lived at the same time, such as Sayyidina Ibrahim, Sayyidina Lut, alayhim salam. But the Quran, when the Quran mentions the message of those prophets to their own people, it is practically the same. They might have tended to specific social injustice, economic injustice, which is again ultimately it is social. But the message is very clear. أَنْ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ. All the prophets practically in the Quran would use this phrase, this command. So he ordained it by the tongues of his messengers, not by mere reason. Rather, he sent the messengers and manifested their truthfulness by means of clear miracles. They conveyed his commands, prohibitions, promises, and threats. It is required of the creation to affirm their truthfulness in delivering their message. Okay. The first thing, his right to obedience. And this, God forbids, we are not putting humanity on one side and God on the other. But simply, I'm trying to understand, what does humanity do today? They don't want obedience. They don't want the notion of liberty, freedom. Freedom from what? It's very clear to me that there is a very strong liberal ideology that is anti-tradition, anti-religion, and today, if we just simply look at how language changed because of this. For example, adultery became extramarital affair. Gambling became gaming. Okay. Prostitution became sex worker. So there's a certain language out there, and there are those who try to create a law that would work against tradition, against religion, and it's not hidden. The agenda is not hidden. So it's really liberty, liberal, to be free, but to be free became one should be free to criticize, always in a very polite way, but to criticize really the policies of governments. They are not infallible, without fear of persecution. But to translate this into liberty to act and behave against God, really, this is really what became. So it's the gap is growing. I would say the gap is growing, and we're not paying attention because it's really gradual on daily basis. Now the miracles, by means of clear miracles. The miracles before were physical miracles that people witnessed. The Pharaoh and his people, the magicians, they witnessed the miracles of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. They realized that he was not acting on his own. They realized that this is not really magic, because they knew what magic is. The people of Sayyidina, the followers, the people, the children of Israel who were with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, so splitting the rock from which 12 water springs gushed out for the 12 tribes. They saw splitting the sea, whether it was a reference to a river or a body of water. The idea is still the same. They witnessed the splitting of the sea, and the mentality of people today is that they don't want to hear the word miracle. They want basically scientifically proven lab tests, a positivist approach to these miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them possible, and we'll just maybe take a couple of miracles that took place. One of them is splitting the sea. There was a program that attempted to interpret, to explain what happened scientifically. So the ultimate conclusion was that there must have been a 700 mile per hour wind that pushed the body of water to one side, and they could really move from one side to the other. Very interesting. No one thought that how a strong wind such as this could push the body of water, and it could not basically make Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and his followers fly to not only to the other side, Allahu Alam, as long as the fierce wind could go. It cannot be explained simply because really you are applying the strength of the wind to the body of water, but you don't apply it to the people. It doesn't work like this. The second one is about the flood that took place. We talk about the story of Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam. So when the flood took place, the biblical scholars said that there was no, it's not revelation. There is no. There was like the flooding in Mesopotamia that was documented, for example, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the author of the Old Testament of the Torah picked the story from there, and the author of the Quran picked up the story from the Old Testament, and that's not really how things take place. Whether there were other floods, minor floods, yes. Flooding of the Nile, it took place, year after year. So wherever there are rivers, and that's possible, the flooding. But in terms of narratives, just think about the people who were with Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam on the ark, on that ship. Did they have a memory of the flood? Definitely, they must have been also terrified. I mean, because the description of the waves, like the mountains, of course they would be scared. Would they have talked about this later on? Definitely. Would that basically created a narrative outside the realm of revelation that would be transmitted from one generation to the other? Yes. Could it be that it was entrenched in these mud tablets? Yes. So the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of revelation. But once we have a difference, the Quran is the ultimate reference in this case. So for example, the children of Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, all of them in the Torah, in the Old Testament, in Genesis, they are saved, not in the Quran. One of them really perishes. He drowns by choice, and his father of Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam was pleading to him. At any rate, you know very well that there were so many miracles that took place at the hand of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Jesus Christ, peace upon him, whenever he performed a miracle in the in the Quran, it was always by leave of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فبإذن الله. But the miracle of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam definitely is the Quran. لا تنقضي عجائبه. Definitely will continue. Will never exhaust this miracle, no matter. Of course, we need to delve into the depth of the Quranic narrative and try to find out. And every generation, inshallah, will find something new. And for that we need to go back and read, inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open windows and will bestow understanding according to our abilities. Subhanallah. I think this is enough for today, inshallah, and we'll continue tomorrow with the ninth principle, the last day, يوم الآخر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.